Well, hello, welcome to the show. My name is Jeff. I am so glad you could be with me today. Now, you regular viewers might be asking yourself, Jeff, where have you been these last few weeks? Summer, what can I tell you? Anyway, before we get started, I want to let you know that I'm not really up on my Roman and Greek god mythology at all, and I'm not really into these sword and sandal films. So what I'm saying is, if I say anything stupid, if I mispronounce a name or get a fact wrong, hey, sue me, alright? I'm going to do my best. Anyway, I almost didn't do this film for that very reason, but then I thought, what the hell, let's give it a shot. So today I'm going to talk about a film that was first shown on Mystery Science Theater 3000 on August 1st, 1992. It was the 1959 Italian-French epic fantasy feature film Hercules in Bondage. No, Hercules Unchained. This classic was directed by Pietro Francisci and stars Steve Reeves, Sylva Koscina, Primo Carnera, Sylvia Lopez, and many other wonderful people. And I'm wondering how many of those names I got wrong there. This is the episode which starts with the annual Wash and Wax Day. A bad day for the bots. Afterwards, Tom feels great, but Crow is upset. The Mads come up with decorator roaches, and helping them out is Steve Reeves, the star of today's film. Joel and the bots come up with the Steve-O-meter, a device that lets inventors know if Steve Allen has already thought of their idea. At first break, Gypsy creates a Roman set, which allows her to show herself as the Hellenistic ideal, and attempts to play the harp, but playing the harp without any arms is not easy. Later we have the SOL crew eat and drink from the waters of forgetfulness, the shake of pretentiousness, the blizzard of loneliness, the fruit-striped gum of stability, and the green beans and French onion casserole of happiness. A very funny skit. Joel is interrupted while reading William Shatner's Tech War by the bots who want him to explain the relationship between Hercules and the Queen. They want to know, what do they do all day? What does she do for him? A nervous Joel seems to avoid the subject. And at the end, Joel and the bots discuss the reason for these fantasy films being so successful. Tom has the right idea, however, that Joseph E. Levine bought the films for cheap and then made a fortune. Steve Reeves is unable to add any insight into the issue. Never before on the screen, the mightiest of them all. Fabulous feats of human power the screen has never shown before. Spectacles of massive might beyond any ever known before. Hercules Unchained. That's a lot of reading for one poster, and a lot of boasting as well, but if I was a kid back in 1959, it might have got me into the theater. And perhaps as I left the theater, I might feel the same as, well, when I bought a Ron Popeil product back in the 70s, a bit cheated. Anyway, Hercules Unchained was the sequel to the 1958 film Hercules, and it was the second and the last time Steve Reeves ever played the part. Both films were written and directed by Pietro Francisci. Pietro lived from 1906 to 1977 and was an Italian film director. He is best known for these Hercules films, and he is credited for starting the whole sword and sandal boom of the late 1950s and early 60s. He had many films of this same style. Now there's a story that Steve Reeves likes to tell that when they were filming the first film, the first Hercules movies, Francisci got mad at him because he wouldn't swing the chains he was holding hard enough trying to hit the actors who were playing his enemy. Steve Reeves told him, I don't want to hurt the other actors, and the director told him if they don't get hurt, they don't get paid, so Steve had to swing the chains as hard as he could. Anyway, we could go into the making of both these films, and I think that would be pretty boring, and I couldn't find a lot of information about the making of these films. Both films pretty much had the same cast and crew, and they were filmed in Italy, and like all Italian productions at the time, they were filmed without sound, and the dialogue was overdubbed in later, and Steve Reeves did his own voice for the English release. Now, the film is based on the Argonauts by Apollonius of Rhodes. Apollonius was a Greek author, and I have no idea how close the film is to the actual story. Apparently, Francisci took the Jason and the Argonaut story, but replaced Jason with Hercules because a film called Jason wouldn't sound all that impressive. But Hercules Unchained was loosely based on Oedipus of Colonius by Sophocles, and Seven Against Thebes by Aeschylus. I get the impression that Pietro Francisci just wrote the story using what he remembered from both tales and really wasn't too concerned about accuracy. You see, Hercules Unchained was rushed into production because the first film became a surprise international hit. In fact, the film star, Steve Reeves, after the first film was released, went back to his job in the States. He was working at the American Health Studios as a gym instructor. He had no idea that the film was successful until he was called back for the sequel. So now this sounds like a good place to start talking about our cast. Steve Reeves plays our hero. Stephen Lester Reeves lived from 1926 to 2000. He was obviously a bodybuilder who was Mr. America of 1947, Mr. World of 1948, and Mr. Universe of 1950. He studied acting and was up for the part in Cecil B. DeMille's Samson and Delilah in 1945, a part that ended up going to Victor Mature. He had trouble signing with the studio because of his body. He said, "They could put me under contract like Tony Curtis and Rock Hudson, but the trouble is I had a big physique, and they could only use me in one movie a year. It would be a very limited use situation, maybe because I made their other male contract players look weak in comparison." He did a bit of TV but had a hard time breaking into films. But one of his first films was for Ed Wood.
Brady's an old hand at being tailed. I don't think it would have done much good.
When do you see the doctor?
Tomorrow morning at his office.
I'd like to be there.
You will be.
He was in Ed's 1954 film Jailbait. In an interview in Cult Movie Magazine in 1996, Steve said, "I liked working with Ed Wood and thought he was a nice man and a good director. He kind of let you do what you wanted and guided you very slightly, not trying to dominate every move you made." One of the early films he did appear in was the 1954 musical comedy film Athena, playing the boyfriend of Jane Powell. When Francisci started planning on making a Hercules film, he couldn't find the right actor to play the part. His daughter had seen the film, and she told him about Steve Reeves. So he contacted Steve and gave him the part. Steve was paid about $10,000 for the role. He would only play Hercules in 2 films, but would go on to have a very successful career in other Italian-made sword and sandal films. Sylvia Lopez plays Queen Omphale from Lydia. Sylvia was born Tatiana Brent and lived from 1933 to 1959. Yes, that's right, the beautiful Sylvia died shortly after this film was released at the young age of 26. She was working on her next film when she was diagnosed with leukemia and died shortly after. Very sad. Sylvia Koscina plays Iole. Sylvia lived from 1933 to 1994. She was a Yugoslavian-born Italian actress, best known for these 2 Hercules films and as Paul Newman's romantic interest in The Secret War of Henry Fig from 1968. Her career lasted from 1955 to 1994, the year she died. She worked mostly in Italian cinema. And I think that's enough with the actors. I'm sure they're all wonderful, but I really don't know much about them, so let's move on to the plot of the film. What is Hercules Unchained? Well, we open with a man being carried on a stretcher. He's taken to a beautiful woman. We don't yet know who she is, but she orders a young man, I assume her lover, to be killed. And then during the opening credits, we see a ship. On the ship is Hercules and Ulisses, apparently on their way home after the adventures of the last movie. And we see Herc, with all his muscles, drop the anchor. Once on land, they start packing up a wagon. What's this all about? We'll let the narrator tell us.
Accompanying Hercules and Iole to the city of Thebes will be the young Ulisses, son of Laertes.
So Herc and his wife Iole and the young Ulisses are ready for a trip. And they're given a couple of presents.
What are these?
If you want me to come to you at any time, use one of these. Carefully tie a message to the leg of a pigeon, and he'll bring it to me.
This lute, it's from Orpheus.
Who's that for?
If you expect to play the lute with those heads.
It's for your wife.
They're on a trip to Thebes, apparently Hercules' hometown, I'm guessing. Anyway, he's very proud of his town.
We know that the king is Oedipus.
Who's a fine man.
And as for Thebes, it's tremendous, all spacious and rich.
And the stadium and the baths and the palaces, it must be heaven if you listen to Hercules talk.
It's all right, laugh. I don't know what you're joking about. Now you'll see what a real city's like. Why, you'll hardly believe your eyes.
Passing them is a band of mercenary soldiers on their way to Thebes. This worries the Herc for a bit, and he decides to chase them until he decides that it's time for a nap.
Hercules, that ceremony you went through, the bonds of matrimony. Now you're married, so drive carefully.
I'm grateful, Ulysses. Thanks for the reminder.
Oh, all right then. Have your fun. I want to rest.
This gives time for Iole to do a bit of singing.
Last night, love was in those eyes. Love was in those glances by that evening star, so glamorous and new.
All is fine and peaceful until they run into the giant Antaeus. And Antaeus, well, he has a condition.
Strangers, this valley is mine, and no one passes through this valley unless I say so, and they pay a price.
For a while, Herc isn't interested because he just wants to sleep, but you know what's going to happen. Eventually, the two are going to battle.
She'd like a new husband like every woman.
Well, if that's the way it is.
But Hercules,
Hercules! Didn't I tell you? They all turn out to be just like that. All right, come on out and fight.
A pleasure.
And it seems that very quickly, Herc takes care of business. But it's not that simple. Every time he has Antaeus down, the giant gets up laughing. What's going on here? Hey, Ulysses figures it out.
I tell you, Hercules, it must be Antaeus, son of the earth goddess. When he touches the ground, he marshals his forces.
Gods! I said put me down! Let me down!
And they go back on the road, and we're about 15 minutes into the film, and I think it's about time we get into a plot. When they arrive, right away they know things aren't right. But they get out of the rain, all happy and laughing. But then there's a voice.
No, Polyneices, no.
Be quiet.
You and Hercules, my own children.
It's Oedipus, and Oedipus isn't all that happy. He's having problems with his two sons, but I'll let him explain.
My sons thought it better I renounce the throne. And so at last I did, so that he and his brother might rule. Each was to rule for 1 year, then cede the throne to his brother. But now Polyneices tells me that the year is up. Look, Father, it's my turn now, and it's plain to see just what his brother wants to do.
So Polyneices wants to be king, but Hercules is king and he won't step down, and Hercules decides to go and negotiate.
I'll go to your brother and try to convince him to respect the pact you made.
It's a noble thought that you have, Hercules, but my sons will listen to no one.
But Thebes is my city. We must spare our people this bloodshed.
So our three adventurers go to Thebes. When they arrive, they find that Hercules, son of Oedipus, brother of Polyneices, is watching some not-so-harmless entertainment. After watching a man get killed by a tiger, Hercules tells him why he's there. But Hercules has something else on his mind.
Who is that girl there? Iole, daughter of Peleus. She's my wife. You've done well. Daughter of the king of Jolko.
Oddly, and And maybe suspiciously, Hercules decides to concede the throne to his brother. That seemed all too easy. So the plan is for Hercules and Ulisses to take the good news to Polynices, leaving Iole behind with the man who just showed no remorse when a man got killed by a tiger, who screwed over his brother and father, and has shown interest in the young lady. What are you thinking, Herc? So Herc, along with Ulisses, go to tell Polynices the good news. On their way back, they stop for dinner, and while Ulisses goes out to hunt, Herc drinks some water. But what kind of water is this?
These are the waters of forgetfulness. Those who drink of them will forget all.
I'm assuming Herc himself can't hear that voice? Who's ever in charge of this water should put up a sign saying this is the water of forgetfulness so people will know. Come to think about it, why is there the water of forgetfulness? What's the point? Anyway, the horses too drink from the water and they run off in a panic. Ulisses sees that and runs back to the Herc. Meanwhile, Herc is confused because he's hearing the voice of Iole, and he goes to investigate.
Iole! What's happening?
Iole, where are you, Iole?
Hercules, what's the matter?
Iole, can't you hear a voice? Can't you hear it?
The big man suddenly collapses right before soldiers arrive at the scene. With the muscle man out, Ulisses, without somebody to protect him, quickly has a plan. He pretends that he's a deaf mute.
This one is taking no chances, traveling alone with a deaf mute.
Hey, I wouldn't have thought of that. The soldiers take the two across the sea to the island of Lydia. On a stretcher, they bring Herc to Queen Omphale, who, after seeing Herc, has a young man put to death. Now, I'm assuming that the queen takes on young lovers, and once she's tired of them, has them put to death. That explains that opening before the credits. The big man wakes up, not knowing who he is, a bit confused, but then, after coming across this scene, I can only imagine that he is thinking that, well, this life might not be so bad.
What's happened to me? I don't remember anything. Not even who I am.
And is that so important?
Yes, that's very important, if you ask me. So now we get to the main plot of the film. Herc is being seduced by the queen, and Ulisses is trying to get Herc's memory back. And this is one of those lands where all the women are thin and beautiful, and they like to dance.
By the way, what's my name?
What difference does it make?
Nothing. It's just if you called me.
To me, your name is love.
Okay, red flag here. If you ever lose your memory and somebody tells you you're the king, but that person won't tell you your name, you should watch out. I mean, the queen could have said something like, Chuck, your name is Chuck, you are King Chuck. But no. Ulisses does his best to keep the Herc from drinking any more of the water of forgetfulness, and keeps reminding him of who he is.
You are Hercules.
What did you say?
Hercules.
Hercules? What about Hercules?
Iole.
Go away, I don't understand a thing.
Ulisses then uses those carrier pigeons to send a message back telling people what's wrong, and soon troops are on the way. In the meantime, Iole waits for her man to return, not having any idea of what Hercules is up to with the queen. And Hercules is getting a bit angry. See, he doesn't know what's going on.
They'll set up camp there, the Argives. There will stand the tent of Polynices. There they'll be like jackals waiting to capture Thebes. It's all due to Hercules.
If that's what he wanted, he'd never have abandoned Iole.
A man and a woman don't always see marriage the same. And perhaps he wants to break up his marriage. That man wouldn't.
While wandering around, Ulysses stumbles across this place, a place where the queen keeps the preserved bodies of her former lovers. He wonders, is Herc next? And finally, there's a small glimmer of hope that Herc is getting his memory back.
I promise you I won't speak any more about Hercules or Omphale.
Ulysses is so happy, he runs to molest a group of young women, because unwanted sexual advances is so much fun. When the troops arrive, the queen sees her next young lover.
While the others are taken to their rooms, stay a moment with me. I would like to try and remember where we met.
I'm at your service.
Meanwhile, the two brothers, remember that plot from a while back? They're getting ready to fight. So finally, Hercules gets his memory back.
I curse the day he entered this palace.
You cursed the day I entered your palace, Omphale. I was able to pull the threads together. At last I know who I am.
But there's a problem. The queen has fallen in love with him.
If you only knew how I've struggled with myself to keep from ever falling in love with you. But in vain. All in vain.
Because of her love, she releases Herc and his men.
I will see that you and your friends get away safely. But go quickly before I change my mind.
But she doesn't, and I'm confused.
Come on!
Kill them! Kill them all, Saint Odin! But spare me, Hercules!
To make a long story short, Herc and his men escape, the queen kills herself, and with 20 minutes left, Herc goes back to the mission that he was originally on, solving the issue between the two brothers. And only then does Herc show some concern for his wife.
How long was I on the blasted island anyway?
About 20 days, I think. That's much longer than we meant, too.
20 days. The time limit is up. Polynices at the gates of Thebes. Iole. I've been tricked by the gods. She's in the hands of that madman.
Hoist sail and full ahead.
Hercules has gone a bit crazy.
Stand back now. Here's my answer, Polynices.
Herc and his men enter the town but are tricked, and Herc faces a tiger in the arena. But tigers are no match for the son of Zeus. So this dude wants Hercules' wife. And I don't know who this dude is. Was he in the film before? Did I miss it? But before he can get into anything, he goes outside to see what's going on. The two brothers duel and the fight goes on and on and on. And I'm wondering, where is Hercules? Hercules wins the battle, but then dies anyway. And you know, it wouldn't be right to finish a film like this without an epic battle. Hercules, of course, comes out on top, and we have sort of a bittersweet ending.
How much you've suffered, Iole. The gods have placed many obstacles against us. And there'll be others.
I hope we shall withstand them. Somehow the gods will be kind if we just love one another.
Is that what you think, Iole? Hey, good luck with that. This film was followed up by Hercules, Samson, and Ulisses in 1963. It was written and directed by Pietro Francisci again, but this time without Steve Reeves, and I'm not sure why. I mean, he was still doing sword and sandal films, so maybe, well, his asking price had doubled to $20,000, so maybe that had something to do with it, or maybe he was just tired of the character. Who knows? Now, Mystery Science Theater 3000 showed, 4 Hercules movies? Maybe 5? I think it was 4. With at least 3 different actors playing the part, and I think Reeves was the best out of the bunch. I don't know what it is about him, but he sort of makes me smile. What can I tell you? Anyway, the plot of this film seems to meander a bit, you know? I mean, it sets up 2 battling brothers, then it focuses on Hercules' loss of memory. And I think time should have been more of a factor, you know? I mean, it is there, but they should have brought it out more. They could have had Ulisses counting out the days, you know? If we don't get Hercules' memory back by this date, all hope is lost. So, anyway, something like that. I don't know. Anyway, and the end doesn't work. I mean, Hercules and his setup is the bad guy, but then he ends up battling his own brother to the death, and Hercules has nothing to do with it. I think it would be better for the hero to battle the bad guy at the end. But then again, I don't know the legend or if that's the way it is in the stories it's based on, you know? But like I said, I really enjoyed this film. I really enjoyed the Mystery Science Theater 3000 episode, and I'm wondering what you thought of both the original film, if you've seen it, and the Mystery Science Theater 3000 episode. I think it's one of their better episodes. But anyway, leave a comment below. I'd like to know. The music for this film was by Enzo Massetti, an Italian composer who lived from 1893 to 1961. He had a long career in Italian cinema. After composing the score for Hercules Unchained, he retired, but unfortunately only got to enjoy his retirement for 2 years before he passed away at the age of 67. Now for today's obscure reference, we have this.
Let's see, is it live or is it Memorex? I've forgotten.
Kids, before there was digital technology, there was analog. For you youngsters who are collecting vinyl now, vinyl is analog. Now back in the day, for those of us who had vinyl record albums, we had a problem. We couldn't play those in our car. So they came out with little cassettes. They were a reel of magnetic tape inside a little plastic case, and you could record your vinyl albums onto those cassettes and play them in your car. Fantastic. Now, one of the big manufacturers of these tapes was Memorex, and in the early 1980s, they had a series of commercials that went something like this.
But after 1,000 plays, can the same cassette still shatter a glass? It can if it's totally new Memorex. Now even after 1,000 plays, reproduction so true, we ask, is it live or is it Memorex?
Now, Mystery Science Theater 3000 showed about 75 minutes of this 96-minute film, which means they cut out about 20 minutes. They cut out the whole pre-credit sequence. Much of Yole's song she sang on the wagon was cut out. When Hercules first meets Hercules, much of that was cut out, and various little bits here and there, probably all for time. And I want to thank you for watching today. I really appreciate it. And I want to read one email before I go. I did a biography of a wonderful female actor named Mara Corday a while back, and she was in such films as Tarantula, The Black Scorpion, and The Giant Claw. And I must have called those films cheesy. I don't always remember what I said when I make these videos. And anyway, Retromaster 2000 wrote me and he said, "Those films aren't cheesy, dude." First of all, I laughed when he called me dude. I don't know why that always tickles me. But second of all, me and Retromaster 2000 must have different dictionaries because in my dictionary, those films represent the word cheesy. But maybe that's just me. So in 2 weeks from now, I'll be talking about the 1958 American crime horror science fiction film, The Indestructible Man, starring the one and only Lon Chaney. And I don't think I've talked about Chaney before, so we'll have a lot to talk about there, I am sure. I hope you'll join me. It wouldn't be the same without you. And before I go, one last thing. I want to do a shout out to Ozzy. Mr. Osbourne, I go all the way back to Black Sabbath, your solo career, and even the show The Osbournes. You were a part of my life for years. And thanks for all the wonderful music. You'll be missed. And here's to you, Oz. Anyway, take care. Bye-bye.